Greetings everybody, it's me, your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and this is my series Nails in the Coffin, where we learn that with great kills, there must also come great nails. Thank you for checking out this video, I really do appreciate it, and if you wouldn't mind leaving a like down below and a comment, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I put a video out every Friday, and I'd love to grow this channel, so thank you for the support. Today, we're going to continue our trip through Texas with 1995's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation. This movie was directed by Kim Henkel, and this is his only directing credit. However, he does have multiple writing credits throughout the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Some of the notable cast members in this movie are Matthew McConaughey as Vilmer, and Renee Zellweger as Final Girl Jenny. Here's a recap of the movies I've covered so far in the franchise and their average nails in the coffin rating. Texas Chainsaw Massacre had an average of 1.4 nails. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 had an average of 1.8 nails. And Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 had the lowest average yet with 1.2 nails in the coffin. I hope you have your chainsaws gassed up and ready to go as we put some nails in the coffin with Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. Just like the other movies in the franchise, the movie begins with text and narration. And none of the other movies ever capture the magic of John Larroquette's performance when he narrated the text scroll in the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The movie opens up with a bunch of kids at a high school prom, and Heather catches her boyfriend Barry making out with another girl. She's obviously really upset, so she jumps in Barry's car and tries to speed away. Barry's able to catch up and jumps in the car with her. Barry doesn't understand why Heather's so upset. Heather's trying to tell him.
You were kissing her.
And Barry's response,
Once! I kissed her once! What's wrong with that? Come on, it's like I can't even talk to my friends anymore. I can't believe how possessive you are.
So it kind of makes you looking forward to this kid getting killed. While Barry is being an asshole to his girlfriend Heather, we're introduced to two more characters, Jenny and Sean. They were hiding in the backseat of Barry's car making out. So all four of them are talking in the car. Heather's driving. She sees a detour up in front of her, and she follows the sign and takes a detour off the highway. While Heather is driving on this dirt road, somebody crashes into them, and it winds up disabling both cars. The young kid who was driving the other car gets out, simply says, "I'm not hurt," and passes out. While all four of these guys are trying to figure out what to do, Heather tells everybody,
"Something bad's gonna happen. I can feel it."
Oh, just you wait, Heather. Just you wait. Then Jenny, Heather, and Barry decide to go looking for help, and Sean stays back with the cars and the I'm Not Hurt kid. The three of them eventually find this small office building where we meet Darla. She agrees to help these kids out, so she calls her husband Vilmer.
Vilmer, if you're there, babe, pick up the phone.
Who has a tow truck, asking for him to go, help these kids with their cars.
Some kids got in a wreck up the road. One of them's hurt.
Meanwhile, Sean is still back by the crash with the I'm Not Hurt kid who's still passed out on the ground. He sees Vilmer pull up in his tow truck. Vilmer gets out of the truck and Sean sees that he's got this really cool looking robotic leg. Vilmer goes to check on the I'm Not Hurt kid. He's checking him out and just takes his head and snaps his neck. And Sean witnesses all of this. The I'm Not Hurt kid, he dies at 15 minutes in, and I'm going to give him 2 nails in the coffin. I don't know what actually caused him to crash into Heather's car while she was driving. There was no evidence that he was speeding or drinking or anything. He simply had to crash, hit his head. He got out of the car, said, "I'm not hurt," and passed out. So without a lot to go on what actually caused the crash, and since Vilmer just simply broke his neck while he was passed out, I'm pretty confident to give I'm Not Hurt 2 nails in the coffin for our first kill in Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. Our next death is Sean, and it's just a few minutes later. He just witnessed Vilmer kill the I'm Not Hurt kid. He gets scared and starts to run down the road. Vilmer's chasing him in his pickup truck, and Sean is running in the middle of the road, so you can kind of see where this is going. Sean's out of breath, and Vilmer catches up to him, pulling alongside of him. Sean asks him, "Hey, why are you doing this? Can you stop?" And we all know that's not going to happen.
Please, mister, you're scaring me.
So Sean runs the other way down the same road, and Vilmer throws his truck in reverse and is about to catch up with them. Meanwhile, Sean is still running in the middle of the road. Well, obviously, Vilmer's going to catch up with them. He runs him over, backs up and forth a bunch of times, killing Sean. I think most of you are going to agree with good old Uncle Pete that I'm giving Sean one nail in the coffin. Why he chose to run down the middle of the road where he had a lot of time and opportunity to go left or right and run through the woods. He saw that Vilmer had this robotic leg that caused him to limp, so he knew Vilmer wouldn't be able to catch up to him on foot. But Sean chose to run in the middle of the road both times, even when Vilmer was going in reverse in his tow truck, which arguably is harder to maneuver and get greater speed while he's in reverse. But Sean stayed in the middle of the road and he got ran over a bunch of times. So easily won this for me. I'm giving Sean one nail in the coffin. After the kids meet Darla, they decide to temporarily split up. Jenny makes her way back to go find her boyfriend Sean, and Heather and Barry actually find their way to the slaughterhouse. The family in this movie are called the Slaughters, vice the Sawyers. Why they made that change, not completely sure. So they make it to the house. Heather is knocking on the door. It's locked and there's no answer. So then Barry decides to go walk around the back of the house, see if he can find somebody in there or find a way in the house, I guess. Heather decides to sit down on the bench on the porch and she's just waiting for Barry. While she's sitting there waiting, we get to meet Leatherface and he's standing behind her playing with the hair. And she's just kind of fidgeting a little bit. She has no clue that somebody's standing behind her. Apparently, Heather has no type of spatial awareness. Eventually, Leather accidentally knocks over a broom. This startles Heather. She turns around and sees him. She screams. He screams. She tries to run away. He grabs her. She's kicking and screaming, but he's able to drag her inside the house. And then he goes to one of the rooms and places her inside this big freezer, which is a nice little callback to the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. She kicks open the door. He shuts it again and puts his heavy object on top, and we are left with Heather in the freezer. Meanwhile, Barry is looking around the back of the house where we meet W.E. Slaughter, who pulls a shotgun on Barry. W.E.'s got the shotgun pointed at Barry. They're now in the front of the house, and Barry's trying to tell W.E., hey, my dad's a lawyer, this is kidnapping.
If I go in there, that's kidnapping. My father's a lawyer, I know what I'm talking about, okay?
Which doesn't make any sense because earlier in the film, he's trying to tell everybody that his dad's a doctor. So, Barry's a liar and obviously doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. They're staying in front of the house. Barry runs inside the house and locks the door, essentially locking W.E. out of his own house. At about 35 minutes in, Barry's walking around the house, talking to himself, or he's talking to Heather, and he totally thinks he's the man for locking W.E. out of the house, and it's very cringeworthy.
There's some crazy guy outside with a shotgun. Locked him out, though. You should have seen me.
He finds the bathroom. He goes to use the bathroom, where after he does, he finds a bunch of gross stuff. He walks out into the hall, where he gets to meet Leather, who hits him in the head with a sledgehammer, killing him. This is another very easy nail rating for me, and I think we all can expect that, Barry, you're also going to get one nail in the coffin. You thought you were the man by locking a man with a shotgun out of his own house. You're obnoxious, entitled, and stupid. So for all those reasons and probably a lot more, Barry, you're easily going to get one nail in the coffin. After Leatherface kills Barry, he takes his body and tries to place it inside the freezer with Heather. Heather is not dead, so Leatherface takes her out of the freezer, puts Barry in the freezer, and takes Heather and places her on this large meat hook, which is another callback to the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. While this is happening, Jenny is still on her way walking back to go find Sean, where she is picked up by Vilmer.
Say you need a ride, and you ought to ditch the two geeks you're in the car with now and get in with us, but that's alright. We'll worry about that later.
Vilmer is acting real sketchy.
Why don't you get in?
Well, where is he?
God damn it, I said get in the truck.
Trying to get Jenny to get in the truck with him. So why she actually gets in the truck with him is kind of a mystery. But she does get in the truck with Vilmer. He eventually does show her that he has Sean and the I'm Not Hurt kid dead hanging in the back of the truck. Obviously, this is not too pleasing to Jenny, so she jumps out of the truck and is then being chased through the woods by Leatherface and Vilmer, where she eventually makes it to the slaughterhouse because, of course, she does. Leatherface chases Jenny out of the slaughterhouse. Jenny's still running in the woods, and eventually she makes her way back to Darla's office. She thinks Darla is going to help her, and she's trying to explain to Darla that somebody's out there with the chainsaw.
No, he's out there with a chainsaw. No, he had a chainsaw.
Well, unfortunately for Jenny, W.E. shows up to the office where he starts beating Jenny, and he even has a cattle prod, keeps electrocuting her with it, and he's able to subdue Jenny and places her in the trunk of Darla's car. On Darla's way back to the slaughterhouse, she actually stops by at a drive-through pizza parlor, which I find kind of weird. So, apparently the Sawyers/Slaughters have moved on from cannibalism, eating people, to eating pizza. And I think it's kind of funny because they even get a vegetarian pie. After picking up the pizza, Darla is on her way back to the slaughterhouse, and she sees Heather in the middle of the road. Heather was able to get herself off the large meat hook and outside of the slaughterhouse, where she was curled into a fetal position in the middle of the road, obviously in a lot of pain since she had a hook go through her back. She thinks Darla is going to help her, but we all know that's not going to happen by now. And in another comical scene in this movie, Darla picks up this stick and kind of really gives these soft little taps to Heather, and Heather obviously is not enjoying this too much.
Don't hit me. Stop.
They are eventually able to get Heather back into the Slaughter's house, and Heather takes an amazing amount of abuse in this film. And it's kind of a stark contrast to the comedic craziness in the movie and the amount of violence in it, because Heather takes a lot of abuse, more than anybody other character in this film. Our next death in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, is W.E., and it happens at 1 hour and 8 minutes in. We are all at the dinner scene right now, which is pretty constant in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise so far. Vilmer is in this big manic phase right now, and W.E. stands up, and no one really saw this kill coming. Vilmer just picks up a hammer and smashes W.E. in the head, killing him in a very unexpected kill. No one really saw this kill coming, especially W.E. That's why I'm going to give him 2 nails in a coffin. Yes, he did deserve to die, but that's not what nails in a coffin are about. It's, could the kill have been avoided, or, how hard the victim fought. So that's why I'm going to go down the middle for W.E. and give him 2 nails in a coffin. He was part of this crazy, psychotic family, but I'm pretty sure he didn't expect Vilmer to pick up a hammer and bash him in the head with it. So for that reason alone, I'm going to go down the middle and give W.E. 2 nails in the coffin. Jenny is witnessing all this, and she decided she has enough. So she stands up and she decides to tell everybody she's going to leave.
You sit the fuck down.
After Jenny tries to leave, Vilmer is continuing to go off the rails, and he decides to pour lighter fluid all over Heather, who's passed out with her head on the kitchen table, and he sets her on fire. He's screaming, "Burn, burn." Heather is up, flailing around. She makes it over to the wall, and Dollar is actually kind of nice, where she takes a fire extinguisher and extinguishes the fire on Heather, and Heather just kind of falls down to the floor. During the dinner scene, we also learn that the Slaughter family is working for the Illuminati. The Illuminati show up to the dinner, and they act really weird, and it's really kind of awkward. After the Illuminati leave, Vilmer still has Heather on the ground, and he takes his robotic leg, places a boot on her neck and head, uses the robotic leg, and crushes her head and neck, killing her. And this happens about 1 hour and 15 minutes into the movie. Heather took a lot of abuse in this film. She was, grabbed by Leatherface, placed inside of a freezer, impaled on a meat hook, beaten, viciously by Vilmer, set on fire, and then had her head and neck crushed under his boot. She was an airhead, and she was a bitch.
I'll tell you what it is. I'm a bitch.
She made a lot of dumb decisions, and she even mentioned earlier in the film that the reason she acts so stupid is to get people to like her. I don't know how true that is, but the fact that she took so much abuse before she actually was killed is going to offset her making all these dumb decisions by a little bit. that's why I'm going to go down the middle and give Heather 2 nails in the coffin because, yeah, she took a lot of abuse in this film, more than pretty much any other character. After Heather's death, Jenny is able to escape and run out of the house, but obviously she's going to be pursued by Leather and Vilmer.
Get that bitch!
Jenny is running on this road where she runs in front of this RV driven by this elderly couple. They're able to, slow down a little bit and open a door, and Jenny jumps inside while Leatherface is chasing her. Well, Vilmer shows up in his tow truck. Leatherface jumps in the back. They're able to take chase to the RV, and eventually they actually cause the RV to crash and flip over. And an hour and 19 minutes in, we see Jenny climb out of the flipped over RV, and she's continuing to run down the road, and she's being chased on foot by Vilmer and Leather. And in an interesting turn of events, we see this crop duster swoop down, hit Vilmer in the head, and kills him. And Leatherface sees this, and he just starts screaming. We don't know who was flying the crop duster, or, why they swooped down and hit Vilmer. Was this somebody just regularly crop dusting and, they saw what happened and they tried to save Jenny? We really don't know. We don't even know if it was the Illuminati. So since Vilmer had no idea this was going to happen, now, yes, he was, batshit crazy, still trying to catch up to Jenny, that he was going to kill her. And so I guess for a similar reason that I gave W.E. 2 nails in the coffin, because the death was so unexpected, for that same reason, I'm going to give Vilmer 2 nails in the coffin. Obviously, yes, he did deserve to die, but since it was so unexpected, he had no idea, that was coming, so he had no time to react. So, for that reason alone, I think it's pretty fair. Vilmer, you're getting 2 nails in the coffin. After Vilmer's death, we see that Jenny is picked up by a limo, and it's the Illuminati inside. They apologize to her, trying to tell her this entire experience that she just had to go through was supposed to be spiritual in nature. I don't know. I don't think Jenny is going to buy that. But they do offer to take Jenny to a police station or a hospital, and they do wind up dropping Jenny off at a hospital. So in the final scene of the movie, Jenny is at the hospital where we get 3 cameos from the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We see Marilyn Burns, who played Sally. She's in a gurney. We see John Dugan, who played Grandpa. He's playing the police officer talking to Jenny. And we see Paul Partain, who played Franklin, and he is the orderly pushing Sally. Okay, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are my nails in the coffin for Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. Let's summarize. I'm Not Her Kid. He had 2 nails in a coffin because we didn't know what actually caused him to crash. There was no evidence of speeding or drunk driving. Sean got 1 nail in the coffin. He was stupid for running down the middle of the road when he could have ran in the woods. Barry got 1 nail in the coffin because he had epic amounts of obnoxious and stupid actions. W.E. Slaughter had 2 nails in the coffin. Heather, she took a lot of abuse, so I'm giving her 2 nails in the coffin. And the final kill in the movie, Vilmer, I'm giving him 2 nails in the coffin as well. That gives us an average of 1.7 nails in the coffin for Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. Let's take a look at the average nails in the coffin rating for the first 4 movies in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Texas Chainsaw Massacre had an average of 1.4 nails in the coffin. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 had an average of 1.8 nails. Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 had an average of 1.2 nails. And we just found out that Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation had an average of 1.7 nails in the coffin. Come back next Friday to see how the remake, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which came out in 2003, fares with my nails in the coffin. If you're still watching, I want to give you a sincere thank you for checking out this video. I really do appreciate it. And if you haven't already, please do me a favor and give this video a like and comment down below if you agree or disagree. And let me know what you think so far with the average nails in the coffin ratings of the first 4 movies. And do you have any guesses on an average for the remake, which I'll be covering next week? I do want to give a special thank you to AJ. You comment on all my videos, and I really, really do appreciate it. You have a lot of great stuff to say, and I just want to say thank you for it. And thank you to everybody for checking out these videos and the support you have given me. Thank you very much. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and remember, With great kills, there must also come great nails.